If you were to offer any piece of advice to the coach of the Super Eagles ahead of the AFCON Cup of Nations to help the team succeed at the AFCON, what would that advice be?
How much of Nigeria's AFCON destiny now depends on what the NFF does off the pitch rather than what the players will do on it?
Everything. If the NFF does not perform, you lose everything. The federation is extremely important.
Arsenal wants to win the league, but how do you explain not being able to break down a 10-man Chelsea? Does this expose a serious flaw in Arsenal's DNA, especially when it comes to breaking teams down from the middle?
It is criminal, and I repeat, it is criminal for anybody to play or work for you and you don't pay them. It is equivalent to slave trade. So you're using them for your own. I saw the Champions League when I went there on Tuesday at Manchester against Leverkusen. So what I saw from the game said it all. What I saw was not positive arrogance. What I saw was total disrespect for the opposition.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show Global Football Insights. I'm your co-host Toyosi Adebanjo, and as always, I'm joined by the man who sees football like it's a spiritual calling, Sunday Oliseh. Sunday, welcome. How you doing?
Good morning, Toyosi. I'm fine.
Good morning. All right. Today we're going to jump into all the trending football topics and of course the chaos happening in football right now. Arsenal's wobble, Chelsea's madness, the AFCON drama, and City's fear factor, Osimhen's future, NFF apologies, and everything we'll be discussing here on the show. So grab your tea, take a deep breath, because we're about to unpack the week in football with serious honesty, humor, and just a tiny sprinkle of trouble, because here we give you basketballs as it is.
Hello, Coach. Special greetings to you. I hope you're keeping great. All right, Coach. I just have a simple question for you as a coach and former handler of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. So, Coach, the Super Eagles have qualified for the African Cup of Nations, even though we missed out on arguably the most important, the World Cup. If you were to offer any piece of advice to the coach of the Super Eagles ahead of the African Cup of Nations, to help the team succeed at the AFCON, what would that advice be? And in terms of the present squad of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, if you were to make a selection, would you go with the same team? Would you rotate? If you're going to rotate, what departments do you think you would change as a matter of urgency to enable the Super Eagles succeed at the AFCON in Morocco? Thank you so much. I'll be expecting your answer. God bless you, Coach. Thank you.
I didn't expect anything less from Sawadinho. He's a very spirited and highly thoughtful guy. He's a guy who thinks, and he's faithful to himself with his spiritual Arsenal outfit. To start with, in as much as people are pessimistic, I am very optimistic that the Super Eagles can do very well at this tournament. So Sawadinho is asking what I will advise the manager. The first thing the manager has to do, in my opinion, is that he has to grow a little bit stubborn. He has to grow stubborn because it is no secret that people from outside will try to influence who plays, who doesn't play. I think he has to grow stubborn and say and stand his ground and show personality. He is responsible. Make your team. Decide who is going to play. The team needs leadership, but the team needs leadership that they respect, not leadership that they fear or they like. At the moment, I think nobody doubts the respect the players have for Ndidi. And he's a player that plays every game. I'm not trying to push for who's going to be captain, but I think Ndidi is already the captain anyway because he captained the last game. So I think he has to make a very, very clear tactic. And in as much as Caicedo was very, very defensive in the last Nations Cup, there is nothing wrong with us having a more compact game. Our game is, like we saw against the DR Congo, our game was too loose and too open. And they ran rings all about us. That, I think, is something that has to be done into it. Now, from the player side, this is where whoever is the leader of the team, this is where he has to show what people call the Oliseh leadership. That is, don't wait on the NFF to start calling the players to come to camp. You as a captain, like I used to do then and what Keshi used to do, you call the players privately and let them know, Bobs, me, I'm getting to the camp we're resuming on the night. I've already arranged with my club. I should be there the 8th as a captain. I will be there on the night. Please make sure you're there in the night so that this is Morocco. Flights are coming in the morning. That way you already have the first training session, as a group. To win a tournament. Now, this is where I will share with you why I'm very, very optimistic. A tournament is totally different from playing qualifiers. The tournament, you get like almost 2 weeks to train as a team. So that is when it's easy for you or not easy, but let's just say it is more practical.
Gives you more room. Yeah.
Gives you more room to be able to prepare, okay, this is the tactics we're going to do. Who does this? Who does that? But that depends on everybody being in camp because it's a process. I've heard a lot of criticism on the coach, on the manager, as regards our not qualifying. If you like Chelle or you don't like Chelle, Chelle is now representing Nigeria. He's carrying our country to a Nations Cup. Everybody get on the bandwagon behind this man. Support this man. If this man wins the Nations Cup, Chelle did not win the Nations Cup. Nigeria won the Nations Cup. So the message I'm just sending out is that from the coach's point of view, this is what he has to do. He has to show personality. I can't decide for him what tactics he's going to play. He is the coach that will now look at it and look at the players he has and try to forge out a tactic or a formation that suits them. Obviously, any tactic that does not include Osimhen as being a man that is leading is going to be difficult to succeed because at the moment he's our best player. So if you look at it from that point of view, I totally feel that that is what I would advise the man to do. For me, I wish him all the best.
Okay. You mentioned Keshi and even yourself. And as a coach that you are, the kind of tactics or ideology that you have, expressive football, hybrid players, I know you like it exotic. Do you think that
I love it exotic, not like
yes. Okay, you love it exotic.
Thank you.
Do you think that the Super Eagles are capable of playing expressive, expansive football? Under Gennett Raw, he was bashed for playing negative football, yet he qualified for tournaments with games in hand. Under Jose Peseiro, we got to the final of the AFCON with being shrewd at the back and then the counter attack. We clamor, we make all of these claims talking about how we're not playing expressive football, we're playing negative football, we're always packing the bus. But are these players also capable of playing that style of play?
Now, let's not deceive ourselves. Let's tell ourselves the truth. You cannot dominate if you don't play expressive football. Okay. By playing expressive football, you take control of the game, you do it. That is what Congo did to us at the World Cup qualifiers. They took control of the game. They decided the tempo, they decided where the ball went, and we ran into rings. When we played the AFCON, the last one, with all due respect to Peseiro, we packed the bus. Yeah. But what top 5 African teams did we play till the final? Nobody.
I think we played South Africa.
South Africa is not top 5 African teams.
Okay, well.
We didn't play Morocco. We didn't play Senegal. No. We didn't play Egypt. So we did not play those teams. So the packing of the bus against teams like Guinea, Conakry, which are Equatorial Guinea that we played, or against an initially convalescent Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, that eventually became very tough after they kicked out the French coach. Those ones will work. That will not work if you play Senegal.
But they will argue with you, sir. They will argue with you that Morocco, Egypt, they didn't get to the final, but Nigeria did.
Because they had other priorities. They had other priorities, which is different now. This tournament is going to be played in one of the most infrastructurally developed nations in the whole of Africa. This tournament is a symbolic tournament. Everybody is heading up towards there. Facilities are going to be equivalent to an African level, equivalent to what we saw in Qatar, the top of the crop. So that is I can understand that we all have different opinions, but the reality is that if you're going to the finals, I'm not trying to take credit away for us from getting to the finals. Yeah. What I'm just trying to say is that for us to move forward, if we repeat that same thing, we'll be kicked out. Yeah. We might be kicked out even from the first round or the second round if we are not careful.
But there's the argument that African football is played differently from the European football. It's the strength, the pace, the hostility. African football is kind of different, the gra-gra. It doesn't give you room for all those passing and all that. It's direct football.
I'm not asking Nigeria to passing, because passing, they make sleep catch myself. So I'm not saying that was what we are praying for Nigeria to do. What we're just saying is that we have to create a strategy that makes us also decide how we maneuver the game. Not wait for the opponent to falter, not wait for the opponent to make errors. So we have to now have a strategy that, okay, when we have the ball, we go this way, that way. It doesn't work, we come back. That is how.
All right, point taken. So still on Sawadino's video, with the AFCON around the corner and your opinion on what the manager should put out, how the players should translate his tactics on the pitch, all this chaos surrounding the NFF too as well. How much of Nigeria's AFCON destiny now depends on what the NFF does off the pitch rather than what the players will do on it?
Everything. If the NFF does not perform, you lose everything. The federation is extremely important.
Okay.
That is why, in as much as people will criticize the federation, we have to give them responsibility and respect and ask them to work. The federation organizes accommodation. The federation organizes the atmosphere that is around the players. The federation must organize security. The federation must make the players happy. The federation must make sure that the players get paid. And let me make this statement very clear so that we all know. It is criminal, and I repeat, it is criminal for anybody to play or work for you and you don't pay them. So it is not a question as if you're doing anybody a favor. It is equivalent to slave trade. Somebody works and they don't get paid. So you're using them for your own. Like they were using the blacks in the cotton fields. Make cotton, but I receive the resources. That doesn't work. So all these things have to be put into place. The federation is extremely important.
With the way we missed out on the World Cup, and the NFF followed it up with an apology letter to the President Tinubu. But let's be honest here. Is this the beginning of real accountability that we're seeing from the NFF, or just a PR stunt?
It's very smart of them. It's not stupid what they did. You might laugh as you want, but it's smart of what they did, which is to apologize to the number one citizen of the country. Because it's a big disappointment that we are going 2 World Cups back to back without qualifying. So if you don't apologize, it's like a child who breaks all the cups in the house and doesn't say to the father, I'm sorry. The first thing the father will is that you will never have cup again to drink.
You drink off your hands.
You will drink off your hands. Thank you. So I think that is how it is. I think it's very smart of them. But at the same time also, we all know our people. It's a stunt too now. So.
We move. All right. Morocco versus Nigeria. We've seen the huge gap now. Nigeria as a footballing nation used to be years ahead of Morocco. But now, Morocco has not just breached the gap. They look like they are becoming even ahead of Nigeria. AFCON is almost here. We're already in the month. Morocco is looking like the golden child of African football. They built on their World Cup run, getting to the semifinals the last time out. The academies are booming. We're still seeing more potentials to come. Their female teams are doing well. Even in their local leagues, we're seeing their teams also do well and represent outside of the country. Now,
cool.
How did they pull this off? What is that one big thing that Nigeria needs to change tomorrow morning, like now, if we don't want to waste the next Osimhen, the next Oliseh, the next Finidi George, the next Yekini? What do we need to do differently?
Toyosi, I went to Morocco for the first time in 1997 when my son was born. He's also Moroccan, half born. But the King Hassan II was the king then. 2 years after he died, his son, who was schooling, I think, in France, an educated young man, became king. Now, he became king in 1999 and 2001. Now, what they did, being a very learned person, you see, how good your football is does not depend on the federation. It depends on the country. The country delegates the federation, and the federation has to now do what the country wants them to do. In Nigeria's case, we want to qualify, we want to win games, we want to win titles. For some countries, all they want is just qualify. If I go now to coach Tanzania, or to coach Liberia, or to coach,
Seychelles.
To coach Seychelles, the country will celebrate if I just qualify for Nations Cup. That is not the case with
I'm telling you.
That is not the case with Nigeria. Nigeria's ambition is we are giants of Africa in size, population, economy, and everything you can think of. And for that reason, we have to be giants also in results, win titles. We've shown it in the past, we can do it. Now, going back to the Morocco now, having said that, going back to the Morocco, what they did was that they now, this king, when he came in, he started to build infrastructures. What he did was that then they set up the Mohammed VI. He's the King Mohammed VI. Like an academy. They set it up. Now in 2019, he now opened the Mohammed VI complex. This complex is world class. It's even better than the one they have in France. So what they have there now is that every national team can now train there, including the female team. Now, it is a law in Morocco that the female team have a minimum wage in the league. I'm not talking of the male team. The female team, they have a minimum wage in the league. So you cannot pay the ladies less than that. And the female team started playing football when? Before 1999, it was almost forbidden to play football. So the female team really got into football 2001. 24 years after, we had to fight to beat them in the finals with the female team. We were
And they
losing
got to the
2-0.
finals twice.
We were losing 2-0, and then they came, our girls showed spirit, came back and won 3-2. So you see, they have built infrastructures, they have set up a strategy. And one thing that is very, very clear that I see in Morocco is that you see there that there is accountability, there's responsibility, and the country now is pushing forward.
Yeah.
They are now Africa's number one team. First African nation to get to the semifinals of the World Cup. They were bronze medalists in the last Olympics, just last year. They came third. They would have won it, but they lost to the eventual winners, Spain, in the semifinals. Now, if you look at it in that point of view, in every ramification you can look at, every direction you look at, Morocco have built infrastructure. They have a strategy. They have decided on a playing style. They have set up a wage system. Now, if a country can now decide that even the female team have to have a minimum wage, the male team are doing well. In the African Champions League, the Moroccan teams are dominant.
Are doing well. Yeah.
They're not
They're
just
under
performing,
17 and under 20. They're winning trophies.
They just won the under 20, a trophy we have never won. They just won it recently. So that tells you that being organized is not something that is not African. It is African because Moroccans are African. South Africans are Africans. So we also just have to decide as a race that this is what we need to do. It is for the benefit of the people.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I say something that is quite very interesting. Because of what this king did, King Mohammed VI did, and because of the structures they've built now, there is an industry that is filling millions of Moroccans in Morocco. It's a football industry. So you see, this football thing is not just fun or to go to the viewing center to have fun. No. This football thing is job creation for the citizens. And that's what the king has done. If these youths are not put into this industry of sports, they will do wrong things. The youths now have a channel to work and to have so that is something, and that's something that we need because our population is youth populated.
Yeah. And we need to put our youths to good use, especially their talent, because trust me, Nigerian youths are very, very talented. Now we'll move over to
Tell me about it, my dear. Before you even ask this question, if you are doubting that Nigerian youths are talented, look at our music industry. Look at our entertainment industry, where the youths have the right to set up their own business and do their own things. We are excelling to the point that United States, the so-called greatest nation in the world, their artists are begging to collaborate with Nigerian artists.
Exactly.
Come on.
There's no country you will go to that you will not hear a Nigerian, one or two, holding one position, doing one or two things. Even when it comes to movies, we have Nigerians everywhere. Those who are Nigerian British, Nigerian this, Nigerian American, But just, I don't know. But somehow it's not just working for our own country.
Well, Toyosi, maybe now you understand why every time I talk to you, I tell you I am optimistic.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's all we have to do is just get it right. And it will just be like, where was this before? Because everything is there. We are just like a bomb waiting to explode in the right direction.
The FIFA rankings came out 2 weeks ago, and Nigeria find themselves back 38 in the world. I think I like that for us. I'm not too impressed, but at least we moved from 41 to 38. So that's progress. Well, who is the strongest team in Africa right now? And which African country is quietly sitting on the biggest future potential?
For me, that ranking is not that really important. The most improved nation in Africa and the number one nation in Africa is Morocco at the moment. In fact, they are the record holders in African football now. Haven't gotten to the semifinals of the World Cup. The country that is sitting on its biggest potential should be a country that should be ruling at the moment is Nigeria. There is nothing. Toyosi, what you need the most to succeed in business, in football, and in fact, in world is numbers. You need numbers. That is why China is dominating the world. They got numbers. And they got the workforce is high. And we, as a country, we have numbers. Every 36 human being you meet on this world, one of them is a Nigerian. 36, one is a Nigerian. That's what our population ratio gives us with the world population. Hey, if you're hooked on these incredible stories and want more epic insights, smash that like button. Subscribe now to our podcast channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Share with your friends and join our community on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, X, and Facebook for exclusive updates and more unforgettable tales. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, we'll turn our attention now to Europe. So many things have been happening from the Champions League week. I know you had a field time. You had fun, watching the Champions League, and even this last weekend's Premier League games too as well. But something happened yesterday. It was the London Derby at the Stamford Bridge. Chelsea took on Arsenal, and somehow it looked like a missed chance here. Arsenal wants to win the league, but how do you explain not being able to break down a 10-man Chelsea? Does this expose a serious flaw in Arsenal's DNA, especially when it comes to breaking teams down from the middle?
Our followers, and we thank them, for our followers of this podcast, just recently, we gave them the 90 to 10% possibility of winning the league. 90%, this title is in the hands of Arsenal to lose. And there's a 10% that we said could cost them the title. That 10% reared up his head against Chelsea. And that is what we mean. Now, there is a way you play against every opposition, theoretically, but you have to put it into practice. Like we always say on this platform, it is easy to plan, but difficult to execute. Looking at it from that point of view, when you come against a team that is packed, Chelsea did something great. They got a red card. They just slided into a 5-3-1. 5 defenders to cover up all the entire width of the pitch. 3 midfielders to cover up the center of the pitch to stop you from directly hitting at the goal. And then 1 to just do the running and direct you, go right or go left. And it worked out well. Now, the antidote to that is using the width of the pitch. That was what Arsenal was supposed to do. Immediately, they should have played wingers that were standing on the lines directly, push them open. And now, eventually, after you've done that, you have to play quick. 1-2 touches, 1-2 touches. Nobody has to carry the ball. And the choice of finishing when you come against a team that has a packed defense is pullouts. It is simple. You have to multiply pullouts. If you notice, the goal Arsenal scored came from a pullout.
Yeah.
So that is the antidote. Now you have to do that. You have to repeat it against the team that is. And if you're playing quick, changing the place, you eventually get pullouts. So that is those were the things that were lacking. And as I was watching it, I was just bemused because I was saying to myself, at this level, this is not something the technical crew should not know.
Yeah.
This is something they should immediately. You cannot play over against an opponent. Almost 60 minutes you played with 1 man more, and you couldn't win the game. This might cost them.
Okay, how do you explain this, that a Chelsea side who were down to 10 men feel bad at the end of the game, that draw felt like a loss to them, compared to a side who had all players on the pitch, 11 men on the pitch, and did not even give a showing that they had a numerical advantage? Who should be blamed here?
I think instead of blaming, I think we should give credit to Chelsea because they played. They were very organized. They were disciplined. And they had this, you could see it in the team that they really wanted to win it. And for me personally, they did win something. Psychologically, it's not every game you win just by scoring the goals or taking the 3 points. There are some games that when you play it, you win something that will make it easier for you to win the next coming games.
Yeah.
Now the sense of belief is there. We can play leaders with 1 man less and we still don't lose. Yeah. We are not just club world champions for nothing. We are what we are. So I think they came out of this game biggest. And the fact that Arsenal was unable to hurt them, that is why they were angry at the end that, Jesus, we should have won this game.
Yeah, should have taken them, even though with 10 men.
So I think that is just the disappointing part. But on the other hand, in all fairness to Arsenal, they didn't lose the game.
Yeah.
They didn't lose the game. They still came out with 1 point. Look, you cannot win every game. I know they also had a midweek Champions League game, but Chelsea also.
Yeah.
That is, some might come out and say, yeah, but Chelsea had 1 day more rest. Yes, but at the end of the day, you played also Arsenal in London. You did not travel. So you immediately you finish your Champions League game, you all went to sleep on your own bed. So it's not as if you have to not travel the next day and that 1 day. So that excuse for me is forget it. But on the other hand, what I felt was that Arsenal can now say, okay, we drew this game. We did not do what we needed to do. Now we know what we should do should this happen again. What we've had is should this happen again in the future and they're not able to break the opposition, then it will really be bad.
All right. We've been mentioning Chelsea 10 men. Caicedo was the man who got that red card. Very unnecessary tackle on Mikel Merino. Chelsea showed crazy character, to fight for that point. And we've said it earlier. But Caicedo's red card was also wild. Does that moment show a deeper discipline problem with this young Chelsea team that could cost them long term? Because they've accumulated 7 red cards already this season, and we're not even in January yet.
Well, the thing there is Caicedo himself, I like this player. I like the way he fights and the way he plays. But it was not only ruthless and careless what he did. I was even tempted as a manager to say, this guy should get a fine in the dressing room. Because the red card you got, you ask yourself, where did you get it? You got it way, way far away from our goal. So it was not a red card out of necessity. It was not a foul out of necessity. It was a foul just out of ruthlessness. I know you should scare the opposition. You should intimidate them. But football, at the end of the day, the aim is not to go there and maim an opponent. You are not going there to try to break an opponent's leg. You're going there to be aggressive and to make them feel, okay, I am present. And should this have happened against the team at its best, you get this red card. And a team that is able to manage the one man more, they will have lost big time. And that the consequences will have been worse than what we saw now. I don't know if it's a sign of indiscipline in the team, but it's a sign that something is not right when it comes to this. But on the other hand, it's good to know that the players are fighting. They are really aggressive and they want to win it,
Yeah.
But it's just that there has to be a limit. There has to be a limit.
Or use common sense.
Yes, but that is what we call not just a red card. That's a very dark red card because those are the kind of red cards that, maim people. Hakimi at the moment, is out for several months thanks to a tackle like this from the Bayern Munich player.
All right. Yesterday's game saw Maresca versus Arteta, and we don't know who got exposed or who did not now. Because even this same red card situation with Chelsea, Manchester United were able to beat them. So I don't know why it became difficult for Arteta to capitalize on 10-man Chelsea. But between Maresca and Arteta, who got more exposed after the red card? Did Maresca actually coach better with 10 men? Learning from what happened at the Old Trafford the last time out, or did Arteta fail to exploit the spaces with 11 men?
Well, these were 2 students of Guardiola trying to pass their exams. I had a feeling I was watching yesterday. Personally, I think that it was more the latter, what you said. That was the fact that Maresca had learned from what he suffered when he played Manchester United, and he acted on it. Now, this is what I was just saying earlier. If something like this happens to you twice and you're not able to learn from it, then you have a problem. Maresca, it happened to him in the past, and he acted, and it became an advantage. Now they knew how to deal with it because it was with the group,
Yeah.
And that is why I'm saying that as now this has happened, they now also have to learn and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
All right. So for Manchester City now, I remember during the week you were over there to watch the Champions League game, and I'm sure you had a few time.
It was nice. It was nice and very, very brainstorming the whole.
And refreshing.
Refreshing too, yeah.
Yeah. So you watch City lose to Leverkusen at the Etihad. Pep Guardiola called out his players for playing with fear. But from where you sat, was it simply a weak rotated side, or they lacked confidence? This younger side who were on the bench, or they're not necessarily first team players compared to the likes of Phil Foden and Erling Haaland. Maybe they just lack confidence, and there's a crisis spreading across the team. So far, so good. Because we also saw that on Saturday, where they had to dig deep to beat Leeds United. Imagine.
Well, I'm not a fan of a manager who goes in public and criticizes the players.
Okay.
As a player, I never liked it. I prefer you come into the dressing room, you can break the wall, you can get angry at me, you can say whatever you want, but don't go in public and start criticizing us as players. We see what that is costing Liverpool now. So if you look at it from that point of view, I am in total disagreement with what Pep said, because I saw the youth team and I saw in fact, I saw the Youth Champions League when I went there on Tuesday at Manchester, and we spent the whole day in the club, and then we saw also the first team play the Champions League in the night against Leverkusen. So what I saw from the game I saw there totally said it all. With all due respect, there is what we call in football positive arrogance. Positive arrogance is when you come into a game and you have to let the opposition know that I know I am good, and I will show it to you that I'm good, and since I'm better than you, I will win you. You show that arrogance. It's a sense of showing that I am confident because I have worked hard. I am ready, and I'm going to defeat you. What I saw was not positive arrogance. What I saw was total disrespect for the opposition. They played total attack. You had a feeling they had no defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
Leverkusen could just go, when they had the ball, they could just go through and run up through because they all had players pushed up front. And Leverkusen just welcomed them. They just played a 5-4-1, 5-3-2, and just made sure that they just kept them at bay from the central areas. So you can see that this team is struggling because Rodri is injured. You can see that this team is struggling because they don't have somebody like Kovacic in the team.
Yeah.
They have nobody to just like give them balance. The team is lacking balance. And that goes back to what a lot of people criticize Guardiola for, that he is great because he has all the tools at his disposal. Financially, he can buy any player he wants and use them to satisfy him. And now we are seeing for the first time that there are certain top players like De Bruyne missing, Rodri missing, and the struggle is there. But having said that, this team is struggling, but they are second on the Premier League.
Yeah.
And they have just 5 points away from Arsenal. That is the scary part, because should Guardiola now decide that, okay, finally, we are going to spend in December and buy a replacement for Rodri, the central defensive midfield, and they go again on a streak like Guardiola is very good at doing.
Yes, during the January period.
Because he does it a lot, and then that
Yeah.
starts again. Because in as much as you can say, when I was there on Tuesday, Haaland did not start the game.
Yeah.
Foden did not start the game. They were all on
Yeah.
the bench. So he
Doku, every
actually
one of them.
played. He actually played his B team. My only beef was that even if you're playing your B team, you still respect the opposition and at least set up a mechanism that when we are not in possession, how do we make it impossible for them to hurt us? So that was where I had the beef with him. But playing that second team and still with all these players missing, and you see them now, they are still just 5 points from first, which is equivalent to 2 games.
Yeah.
That makes it scary.
Yeah, very true. So if you were to give Pep Guardiola an advice on tactics on what to do with this Manchester City side, because they've been quite wobbly and inconsistent. They win games today, they are drawing tomorrow, they are losing the next one. Now, what would that advice be? Formation tweak, maybe because of the set of players he's got now. Just like you rightly mentioned, you said there's no replacement for Rodri. They brought in Nico Gonzalez, but he's not in that same profile as a Rodri who won the Ballon
far
d'Or.
away.
He's far away.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. With all due respect, from what I saw, I was saying to myself, he didn't have pace. He's not a player who can, God forgive me for trying to criticize, bash a player online, but from what I saw, I just felt that no, they need somebody there.
Yeah.
Probably they are not buying because I can understand it. If you buy a top player now to play that position, what happens to that top player when Rodri?
But don't you think that with this injury for Rodri, it has been occurring back to back now since that ACL? And as a player, an ex-player that you are, and as an ex-player that you were, you know how career damaging ACLs can be.
Yeah.
Either it makes you or it mars you, whichever way you recover from it. And he has been having niggling injuries, recurring injuries every time. Do you think City can still depend on, Rodri right now? Is it dependable at the moment?
Well, it's a football club. It's not a family. It's not a family club. So that means the interest of the club should come first. So
Yeah.
why are you saving a position for a player because he's injured? So are you going to drown because one player is injured because he's one of us, we like him?
Yeah.
No, you get yourself going. That is the thing. And if he comes back, he fights to get his place back. The
Yeah.
ACL is a very, very delicate injury. In fact, what we used to say, we used to call it 6-6. That's how we used to call it when I was playing. That means ACL, it takes you 6 months to recover.
Yeah.
It takes you 6 months to get back to where you were. So it's that we used to call it 6-6.
That's a year.
That's a year. That's a year.
Wow.
So what he's going through now is normal. And that's what they should have expected. So that is why I'm just looking at it in the sense that, but to now sacrifice your own fortune around one player. And Rodri is not the only problem they have. They are missing enormously that player that can give a pass like De Bruyne. Having said that, they have that player that is supposed to do that and who is capable and who is trying to do it. He is called Tijani Renders. This player has the talent, but because the team does not have the balance for him to be able to play at his best now, that is why it's like that. So I think they got potential. One has to be careful. They have potential.
So does Guardiola now tweak his formation to accommodate this new set of players that he has?
Well, football is not about what you want as a manager or what you want as a club. Football is about the quality and the possibility of the players you have. I cannot come and say I want to play 4-4-2, 4-3-3, whatever, if I don't have players that are able to play 4-3-3.
Yeah.
So you have to always make your own formation and your style based on the players you have at the moment. So that is why I think that, and the advantage people like Guardiola have is that they have the financial resources to get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't understand what's happening.
Maybe. So let's travel to Spain. Real Madrid and Barcelona are the only two sides who are vying for the La Liga title. But they have two different stories. Real Madrid in La Liga are really flat this season. In fact, five away games, Xabi Alonso have successfully won only just one, and that came against newly promoted side Real Oviedo. They've played back to back. They've played back to back draws now in the league. But in the Champions League, they seem quite confident. Yeah. But for Barcelona, outside of La Liga, they've become whooping boys overnight. What's really going on with these two Spanish teams?
Well, let's start with the Los Blancos.
Los Blancos, yeah.
Forgive
Los
me.
Merengues.
Los Merengues. I'm trying to polish my Spanish, So, well, the Los Blancos, the problem they have at Real Madrid is the fact that, in my opinion, they have now a Vinicius problem. And this problem is not the fault of Vinicius. It's also not the fault of anybody, but it's just circumstances that has made it to be a problem. In the sense that Kylian Mbappe, one of the best players in the world, Real Madrid felt, or they feel that such a player should play in Real Madrid. So they brought him over to Real Madrid. But the only problem is that they had another one of the best players in the world also playing in the position that Kylian Mbappe is supposed to play. So you have now two prima donnas that should be playing one position, and one has had to adapt his game to be able to play, and that is Mbappe, who now plays as a number 9, and he's scoring non-stop. He was the highest scorer last year, and he's still doing great this year. But Vinicius this season has been struggling, and the manager himself has had some clashes with him, and that is not playing out well. And when you have a top team like this with top players, and a new manager comes in who is relatively doing well compared to last season, and is looking like he's a title candidate, at one point there is this balance problem that comes in. If the manager and one of the best players, who was the best player, number one player in the team 2-3 years ago, if they are having a clash, the team will suffer for it. I am afraid one of them has to go.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to be the boss. I don't think he's going to be the trainer. I think there's a very strong possibility that Vinicius might have to move on. But that is
really?
not to me.
You feel like the club would choose the manager over the player? These are your franchise players.
But there's one thing this manager is that the other manager are not. Okay. This manager is the son of the soil and the son of the club.
But do you think that plays well for Madrid? Del Bosco was in Madrid, and that didn't stop them from sacking him.
Del Bosco is not Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso is World Cup winner with Spain. Xabi Alonso is a top international. Xabi Alonso has proven his worth outside of Spain. He's a new manager they've brought in now. Yeah. And now, from what I analyzed to you earlier, Real Madrid have the luxury now that they can say to Vinicius, go, because if you go, Mbappe can now go back to his natural position. So it's not as if we lose you and we lose something. No. And that's the thing. And there's a lot of talk under the ground about the possibility of Osimhen being a candidate. I'm not going to tell you where I got this information, but there's a lot of talk.
Yeah.
But let's see how this plays out. But when I heard it from a top personality, I was happy for the young man. But let's see what happens.
All right. So what of Barcelona?
Barcelona's own is quite simple. Barcelona overperformed last season.
Wow. You think they actually punched above their weight?
Or they overperformed last season. Barcelona is financially in problems.
Yeah, that is
if you look at them, they are unable to buy players.
Yeah,
a lot of the players a lot of the players in the Barcelona team are young players, are youth players. So they are really struggling. But they've still, in spite of that, they are still pushing up at the top. But there's a limit that holds to. And at the moment now, Yamal is not having what he used to have. So it's kind of like he's kind of like having a little low dip that is expected. But let's just hope that he gets his act quick back together.
Maybe teams, because there were some reports that away fans and away teams are beginning to be hostile towards Lamine Yamal. We saw that in Paris Saint-Germain. We saw that at the Bernabeu. We saw that even at the Stamford Bridge in the Champions League, where they try and keep him quiet and restrict his expressiveness on the pitch.
Those are self-inflicted wounds, because the interview he gave and trying to accuse people of being, especially when he accused Real Madrid, I think that the reality is that even if you're not a fan of Real Madrid, you also have people who sympathize.
So he brought that on himself.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Arsenal, of Chelsea, of Man United, of Man City, but somehow I sympathize with them because my friends are fans of those clubs. They like those clubs. So that means if somebody comes out now and starts insulting those clubs, even though I'm not a fan, I also feel a bit offended. There are two ways he can handle it. He can either say, okay, I will accept it and cross down, or he can assume and accept it and say, okay, you want to cross, I will keep showing you on the pitch what I can do. Cristiano Ronaldo has lived through this all his life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that notwithstanding, Ronaldo, he will still score and go there and meet them and say, look, I am here.
Abby.
He accepted it and he heard it and said, okay, I will show you that I will still perform. So it's, but I think it's a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah, true. So let's round up with your second favorite league. And I'm not sure if I'm correct, but that's the Italian Serie A, because I know you like the Spanish league more.
It's my third favorite league.
Okay, it's third. So after the German Bundesliga. Exactly. So in the Serie A, it kind of feels like there is a title challenge or rivalry going on. AS Roma lost to Napoli. Now they're almost on the same point. Roma, Napoli, Inter Milan, and AC Milan are all vying for the Scudetto. And what's really happening here? Funny enough, I didn't see this coming that it would be this interesting, where the top 4 or top 5 will be very, very close and tight. But it looks like powers are just changing hands. Today is Napoli topping, tomorrow is AC Milan, next is Inter Milan, and next is Gasperini's Roma. What's happening in this Serie A?
In fact, I am totally just like you. I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I was expecting the opposite because when the season ended, there was this mixing of managers. This one goes here, that one he packs his load to this town, the other one packs his load back here. That's what the managers. They were just changing as if somebody was playing like I don't know, like they were playing cards, you know. So that was happened there. But now it's all of a sudden become very interesting. Every week now, people are looking over to okay, who's going to be first this week, and then it's first, and then next week they look at okay, let's see if he's going to hold it.
Yeah.
So it's become very interesting. And to have 4 teams now credibly saying we are in December and we can be champions. Rarely does that happen in Italy. The best you've had has been 3 teams. That's what you've had.
Yeah.
That's when you used to have Juventus, AC Milan, and Parma. That was the best you've had. But now to have 4 of them, and credibly, very, very close. Points beat goals, and it's looking really interesting for everybody.
So do you think that the Serie A itself now is becoming more entertaining? Because we're seeing the likes of Bologna. Bologna are quite entertaining if you watch their game. Como, by the way, under Cesc Fabregas have been outstanding, and they make up the top 6 at the moment. Is the Italian Serie A becoming more accommodating and becoming more interesting?
Let's just say the game is gradually becoming more interesting. If you look at the content that the teams are pushing out now to people, it's becoming more interesting.
Yeah.
You now get a lot of quality games. Like you rightfully said, you now get a lot of, when I say quality games, I mean games where you see strategies, going against strategies, not waiting for the other ones to make an error. So they're really doing that and trying to influence the result of the game by working it. Going through here, going through the passing, dribbling, trying to shoot, trying to bring crosses. So you see a variety of plays. And that's what the Italian football needs at the moment. They need it desperately because they've been trying to shed this Catenaccio football away from their system for decades. And it's really been difficult. It's now been almost 20 years they've been trying to do that. And I think financially they are hurting now.
Yeah, they are.
They're really hurting because all the money is now going to the Premier League. You know, in fact, the Bundesliga also is now beginning to hurt. The Spanish league is still competitive, but nobody is so. The money is more going to the Premier League. For that reason, they also need a share of the cake. Let people also watch us in the viewing centers. For that to happen, you have to dominate your league and dominate Europe. Because people will watch a league if each time the Premier League teams come to Europe and they get dominated by clubs coming from one particular country, the countries will start shifting to watch that league because then you now become a household name. But as long as the Premier League teams keep coming out of the Premier League and they come to the finals of the Champions League, semi-finals, quarterfinals, if they keep doing it for years, it's going to be difficult to break the cycle.
Yeah. All right. I think that has been awesome. Thank you very much, Sunday. You just always have a way of simplifying every problem and every, difficult solution and simplifying every difficult problem. So
we do our best.
It's been awesome. Yeah, we'll do our best. It's been awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this particular episode. We would like for you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to also tag us. If you post any video, tag the Global Football Insight podcast as well. We'll see you in our next episode. Bye.